Hi everyone, welcome to the second video of this first unit. So in the last video we talked about different subdivisions of anatomy and the different imaging techniques that we can use to view these subdivisions, and now we're going to get into physiology. So physiology is the study of the functions of body parts. So this F of X is a abbreviation that I commonly use. So physiology, the study of the function of body parts. We have chemical, physiological function processes and these physical ones. So for example, muscle contraction at the cellular level, we have these different chemical reactions going on to allow your muscle to contract. And then you have the physical component of the actual sarcomere or muscle tissue contracting. And then you have the macroscopic physical movement of your arm. So that's just some different examples of physiological functions. Physiology is integrated with anatomy. So with this idea, we say that structure can dictate function. So your anatomy can dictate function. If you're born without a finger, then it's going to dictate the function of your hand. And then function, the physiology can regulate structure. So let's just say some body part isn't working well. Maybe something in your knee isn't holding up well. Because of some infection or something in your knee, well, that might change the structure of your knee. Okay, the next thing we want to do is looking at these different structures of organization for life. So starting at our most basic, we have the chemical. So our whole body is made up of a bunch of different chemicals, a bunch of different elements, and if you build those elements and those chemicals together, then you can get different cells. So cells are a group of chemicals organized together. They're the structural and functional unit of life. That's a pretty common term that we've used in biology. Structural and functional unit of life. Living things are made up of cells. If you put a bunch of cells together, then you'll get a bunch of different cells together. Then you'll get a tissue. So a tissue has different types of cells that are working together to perform a particular task. So example, nervous tissue, it's made up of neurons, but it also has glial cells, which are these helper cells to help make that tissue function. And then going up a step further, so if you want to say cellular level, then that tissue level would be called histological level. And then we can go to the organ level. So an organ it's a structure that has a specific function. It's made up of two or more types of tissue. So let's say the heart has a specific function of pumping blood, and it's made up of muscle tissue, but it also has connective tissue and epithelial tissue and nervous tissue that all help it beat. So that's an example of an organ that's made up of different tissues. And then we have the organ system. So within that circulatory system, you have the heart, but you also have blood vessels. And then an organism is made up of these different organ systems. Okay. Life processes. So what does it mean to be alive? For our class, let's look at some life processes. So the first one that we're going to talk about is a limiting boundary. If you're alive, so you have something that separates you from everything else in this world. That's called your limiting boundary. In the human's case, that's the skin. Some of these other life processes, we can try to combine them. So for example, excitability. This is the ability to detect a stimuli. A stimuli is just a form of energy. We have different stimuli. We have chemical stimuli. We have mechanical stimuli like pressure. You have electrical stimuli. And we have receptors for all these. So we have chemoreceptors for different chemicals that we're tasting. And we have mechanoreceptors for the different sensations that we're feeling on our skin. So you have a receptor, and it's going to feel this different types of energy, and then it's going to change it into a signal to send through the nervous system so it can respond to it. So the ability to carry information about a stimulus from one part of the body to the other is called conductivity. So first you have to have the stimulus, and it has to be a strong enough stimulus. You have to have a strong enough stimulus that's going for the body to detect it, so it's been excitability, and then once it has this information saying, hey, here's this stimulus, now let's deal with this stimulus and react to it, or not react to it. So, conductivity, this is carrying info from one part of the body to another. in our case, we have the nervous system that carries the stimuli. So here's my person, and here's his chest, here's an arm, and there's a hand. So let's just say Bill is with his girlfriend Sally, and Sally is also holding his hand. Now he's touching it, he's felt it. Well, to get the signal that he's actually felt it, he has to send up, he's been excited, now he's conducting this signal up to his brain, and then his brain's going to respond to it. So we have two parts. We have the excitability, a stimulus is being detected, that's his girlfriend holding his hand, and then it's being conducted, traveling from one part of the body to another, in this case from the hand to the brain, where we can deal with that stimulus. Alright, the next set, we can also group the next set together. Alright, cool. So this next set can be grouped together, and this is where I like to start thinking, whenever we have new concepts that we're learning, we want to try to group information together, so when you come up to a test question and it says something about life processes in the question, who cares? Instead of thinking, oh my gosh, I have to remember 9 different things, say, okay, this thing talks about food. Well, with food, we're probably going to talk about metabolism, digestion, or excretion. If you're talking about something about a nervous signal traveling through the body, it's probably going to be talking about excitability or conductivity. So what I like to do is I try to group information, because there is so much information in this class. What you need to be able to do is when you come up to a test question, you need to have like maybe 5 or 10 things that you have to think about instead of the 1,000 things that you're about to learn in this class. That's an exaggeration. Okay, so this next set can be grouped. So we have metabolism. These are all the chemical reactions in the body. So CHM, chemical reactions. We have 2 different types in our body. We have catabolic reactions, or catabolism. So this is taking big things and turning them into smaller things. We call these breakdown reactions. So for an example, you eat a piece of bread and these carbohydrates are broken down into glucose so that they can be utilized by muscle cells for energy. And then you have anabolism or anabolism, okay, or anabolic reactions. So these are going to be taking small to big. And a pretty common one people have heard of are anabolic what? Steroids. So things like testosterone. Anabolic steroids are going to help make your small muscles into big muscles. All right. So you take in, let's just keep up with this idea of food right now. So you take in this piece of bread and you're breaking it down. This is digestion. So we have digestion is specifically taking in nutrients and breaking them down. We have catabolic reactions going on in our body all the time. So, for example, let's say you don't eat enough, then you don't have enough calories or energy from whatever source of food you're eating. So maybe you break down some muscle cell, or maybe you break down some fat in your stomach for these sources of energy. So catabolic reactions are going on. Specific catabolic reactions of taking in nutrients and breaking them down to be utilized by the body, that's digestion. So this is nutrients in, we break them down, and we can use these for different things in the body. Okay. Whenever you're eating food, you're taking in these nutrients, breaking things down to absorb them to be used by the body, but maybe you're eating some stuff that is pointless for humans. So some fibers and stuff can't be digested, so we just excrete them. And next semester in like April, we'll talk about what feces is made of and all that, but for now we can just say excretion is elimination of waste, and different types of waste that we have. Humans have feces, but this isn't the only waste that we have. So CO2, carbon dioxide, that's a waste product from cellular respiration, so you breathe out CO2. And then urine is a good way to get rid of nitrogenous compounds, so this is another way of excretion. So pooping, creating feces is not the only way. That's just excreting things from digestion. CO2 is excreting waste products from cellular respiration and what you breathe out, and then urine is a bunch of different things, but for now, urine, nitrogenous compounds, salts, different stuff. Okay. This next one's kind of on its own. 7, this is movement. We have a few different types of movement. One is called locomotion. So locomotion is probably what you think of as soon as you think of moving. This is the contraction of skeletal muscles to move the body. I apologize for the handwriting. I hope that my words are enough to help make these connections. So skeletal muscle, you know what? That's really bad. Let me do that one again. Skeletal muscle contracts to move body. Now, we have other different types of moving in the body. So your heart is beating. That form of contraction is a form of movement. You also have blood moving through your body, so that's another type of movement. You have your digestive system doing these peristaltic contractions, moving that body through, or moving that food through your body. So different forms of movement. Next we have growth. There's 2 ways to grow. So what is growing? It's increasing size. That's an arrow. 2 ways to do it. 1, you can increase the size of a pre-existing cell. So for example, a muscle cell, you can shove it with some more sugar, or you can shove it with some more protein to make it bigger. That's like the same cell, you're just increasing the contents within the cell. Or you can increase the number of cells. So that's through mitosis, cell division. Number 9, reproduction. Again, for this class, we have 2 definitions for reproduction. First, you have the production of new cells. That's just through mitosis, like we were just saying. So your skin cells reproduce all the time. All your cells reproduce. Skin was the first one that jumped in my head. So you're producing new cells. And then the other one's procreation, which is the creation of a new individual or organism. And that can be through sexual or asexual means. We'll talk about that next semester too. Okay, so this is new individual or organism.